During the long eras of complex life on Earth, a simple rule usually dictated survival. Ancient oceans were the ultimate danger zones. These seas supported highly developed food webs, governed by specialized apex predators designed to hunt in every corner of the water column. For many species, the shore offered a reprieve. Land provided more reliable access to air, stable shelter, and a predictable food supply away from the reaching jaws of the deep. That 252 million years ago, the environmental conditions that made land a sanctuary began to dissolve. For a brief era in Earth's history, the world changed so drastically that seeking cover in a hostile ocean became a more viable strategy than remaining on solid ground. This inversion was driven by the end Permian mass extinction. It began with colossal volcanic eruptions in what is now Siberia, a geological event known as the Siberian Traps. This event stands as the most severe extinction in the planet's history, scouring both the continents and the seas of the vast majority of living species. The period that followed, the early Triassic, saw the Earth operating as a damaged system, struggling to maintain the basic cycles that support life. The fallout didn't just kill off individual lineages, it dismantled the habitability of the land itself, forcing the survivors to find new, unlikely ways to persist. To understand why the land became so lethal, we have to look at the interior of the supercontinent, Pangaea. A massive heat index shows temperatures rising to levels that few complex organisms could endure. These temperatures triggered a systemic collapse. Forests disappeared, river systems became unpredictable, and the terrestrial food chains that once supported diverse life shattered. This era was defined by ecological simplification. The world had lost its complexity, leaving behind a sparse, low-resource environment. Lystrosaurus became the face of this era. This stocky, barrel-chested herbivore reached massive numbers, not because the world was thriving, but because it was one of the few creatures that could tolerate such extreme hardship. For millions of years, terrestrial life was a grueling endurance test against lethal heat and a broken habitat. The alternative was the water, but the oceans were far from a paradise. Marine environments were choking under widespread acidification, rising temperatures, and a severe lack of oxygen. However, when both environments are hostile, survival depends on which specific hazards are slightly more manageable. As this graph illustrates, the water provided thermal buffering. While land temperatures spiked to lethal levels, shallow aquatic settings absorbed that heat, offering a much more stable environment. There was also a notable change in the food web. The top tier of this pyramid, the space occupied by apex predators, is effectively empty. The specialized marine reptiles of the later Mesozoic had yet to evolve, and the Permian predators were gone. For a time, the coastal waters were devoid of the massive hunters that usually made the sea so dangerous. Animals moving into the water accepted the risks of low oxygen and acidity to escape the immediate threat of boiling surface temperatures and specialized predators. The early Triassic functioned as a recovery phase for a broken planet. Earth was in biological limbo. The ecosystems of the past were destroyed, and the robust marine life we associate with the age of reptiles was still millions of years in the future. Life was rebuilding, but it did so slowly, occurring in pockets where conditions were just stable enough to endure. In this transitional state, the traditional logic of where it was safest to live simply ceased to apply. The end Permian extinction shows that massive disasters do more than just remove species. They rewrite the geography of survival. For a significant window of time, the most effective path forward was to seek refuge in acidic, low-oxygen water, because the land had become even more punishing. It is a rare example of how a global crisis can break a planet so thoroughly that the safest places on Earth and the most lethal places trade roles. For more investigations into the harshest chapters of our planet's history, like and subscribe.